local boom tube comes yet another episode of In the Library of Graphic Literature, from that secret hidden location somewhere deep in the bowels of historic St. John's, Newfoundland, with me, your host, Wallace Ryan. Sip of tea and a spin of the rack. Okay, the show got delayed. I posted for technical difficulties, but what the technical difficulties was that the tape cut out, or the camera cut out about halfway through the show, and I didn't know at one point, so I figured I'm just going to reshoot the thing. Why not? And I didn't have time last night, but I have time now. And not only that, I just fresh from teaching comics today at the Anna Templeton Center here in downtown St. John's. And I have a nice stack of books to go through here this week, so I'm going to get right to it. Right there, Shakespeare. Okay, first of all is these are the DC Modern Classics, the first of that series from DC Black Label. It's pretty nice, actually. It's Watchmen, of course. Nicely done. Graphics, of course. Just another especially nice printing of the Watchmen. A friend of mine pointed out how revolutionary, especially in scenes like this, that Higgins' color was, and I'd forgot about that until I was rereading it one night and just looking at the way Higgins did the lighting, especially in these scenes here, like the red scenes where it's going down in the prison and stuff like that. Anyway, a nice little volume. There's no extras in this one, but I guess that's what the DC Modern Classics is going to be all about. Just very nice printings of some of their classics. This one I got, even though I have another Absolute Edition. I just couldn't resist it being the start of a new line. Figure, why not give it a shot? Okay, let's plow right ahead here. Now we have Volume 2 of Harrow County. Ooh. This is Cullen Bunn and Tyler Crook. And now let me take off the beautiful little dust jacket there. Nice job, by the way, Dark Horse. I like the artwork there, and the nice simple spine. And as you can see, I'm actually deep into reading this. I've read book 1, and I'm going to finish book 2 by this weekend if I can. But once again, here's another beautiful palette of color, actually, and the use of color to evoke mood. Even just flashing through it, you can see the darkening, the brightening, extreme brightening, the green. You can almost tell the story by the color itself. But I'm not going to show too much and give away too much. Oh, and a few extras. But anyway, great book. It's one of my recent favorites, to be quite honest. I hadn't read it until book 1 came out, and when I read that, I was smitten, as they used to say. And I couldn't wait to get my hands on Volume 2, and like I say, there's the proof. I'm already reading it. Okay, from Harrow County to Disney. Mickey Mouse. This is another volume in the Disney Master series, and this is Mickey Mouse, the Pirates of Tabasco Bay. This is by Paul Murray. One of the apparently acclaimed artists. You get some people like my friend Sam, who's ambivalent, I think, towards it, but well, it's not too bad so far. I'm reserving judgment till I actually read it, but I'm collecting all the Disney Masters just because these are stories that have never really made it over to this side of the pond in any real meaningful way, in hardcover at least. So any of you Mickey Mouse fans, or Disney fans in general, I've been enjoying some of my reads. I'm up into Volume 3, I think, of the Disney Masters, and I recommend it highly. Time for a sip of tea and a spin of the rack. Okay, let's move right along here to the Savage Sword of Conan. Volume 1. This, of course, contains the first, how many issues is it? The first 12 issues of Marvel's black and white magazine, The Savage Sword of Conan. Curtis magazines, as they were initially called. Basically, they were Conan stories that were, you know, a bit too mature audience for the average, for their usual Conan the Barbarian comic at the time. So these were, you know, just a little bit more bloodthirsty and violent and sexy, and but they were also in some ways, I mean, the range of the drawing and the art in this volume is well worth the price. You go from Alfredo Cala to Alex Nino to Barry Windsor Smith. Oh, it's just the art, and that's what distinguishes the Savage Sword, at least the first 100 or so issues, from anything. Oh, look, Jim Sterling even distinguishes it from a lot of other things. It's just beautiful art right from the start. Like the first few issues had a lot of black and white versions of some Barry Windsor Smith stories, and oh yeah, and even the origin of the Man-Thing. Second time I've got it now in omnibus form. Well, yeah, I started, as a matter of fact, I started collecting it, I think it was around 10 or 11, I think. Actually, probably around 8, I think, looking at it now on the back. So, I mean, I collected these as a kid, and I loved them. I was a big Conan fan. I read all the novels and all his other, every novel I could find of at the time. Okay, just clipping along here now, and another omnibus from Marvel this week. It's Volume 4 of the Avengers. This one has a lot of great stuff in it. It has the Kree Skrull War. It stars a lot of focuses a lot on Captain Marvel. But this is where we get to see the Neil Adams issues of the Avengers, quickly followed on by Barry Windsor Smith. So, I mean, talk about great art. And then a lot of issues in this by Rich Buckler, who I'm actually a big Rich Buckler fan, so I highly recommend it. So we start with a bit of Sal Buscema, and goes into this famous story. Let's get to the front of here. This famous Avenger story. This Beachhead Earth. Art by Neil Adams and ink by Tom Palmer. I had this when I was a kid. I absolutely worshipped this comic, especially him going inside. I can remember seeing it in some magazine on graphic design when they were talking about art in comics at the time, and they featured, this story was featured in it. But yeah, it's really, really cool. So he does a few issues, including a great issue featuring the Inhumans. This story also appears in the Inhumans Masterworks, I do believe. And this was actually one of my favorite. The art in this is particularly good. Here he had Palmer himself and Alan Weiss inking him. So great artwork, and then leads into the Barry Windsor Smith issues, which are pretty cool actually. This is where he's really starting to find his feet artistically. And then, like I say, it gets into, there's actually a Harlan Ellison story in this run too. Then it gets into a variety of people. But to me, I was a real favorite of Rich Buckler's work around this period too, which would be more like these. He just had something. I like this Sentinel storyline too. Anyway, of course, I'm a big Avengers fan, so definitely worth picking up. Now, what do we have next here? Okay, we have from Dark Horse, Beasts of Burden, Wise Dogs and Eldritch Men. Doom, 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 doom. This is from Evan Dorkin, Benjamin Dewey, and Nate Picos. Evan, great stories, by the way, great stories. I loved all his other stuff, you know, his comedy dork and stuff like that. But this is just great storytelling in this. I've collected all the other ones. I've read all the other ones. I can't wait to read this one. This is one that I'll be cracking and reading before it goes on the shelf. Now, and this is part 2 actually to another book I have. This is Rene Tardi, Prisoner of War in Stalag IIB, My Return Home. So this is volume 2 of this series of about his father being in a POW camp. I actually was waiting until this one came out before I'd read the whole thing from start to finish. So I like doing that with stuff like that. But what I like in this, even just scanning it, is how it goes from like a really grey, greenish grey type of palette into, you know, a bit of colour. Then as, you know, the end of the war comes along and stuff like that, it starts to get brighter, brighter. So yeah, pretty cool. Tardi, it's funny, when I first came across his stuff in heavy metal, I wasn't a huge fan of his, but I don't know, I sort of got used to it, and after a while I sort of started to really like his artwork, and then really became a huge fan. This here, I'm not going to show any of this, just because of the nature. The Complete Crepax, Private Life, I think this is volume 4, yeah. Now, of course, I collected this because of the historical nature of Crepax's work, but it's, like I say, I can't really show it here on my show because I'm trying to keep a PG type of thing, but I mean, it's you know, it's erotic comics and all that, but the artwork is quite sophisticated and all that, and he's one of these great Italian masters of comics. And let's see, last, but definitely not least, and something I can show you, is BPRD Hell on Earth. No. Gotta love Hell on Earth. I'm actually into book 2 of this series in terms of my reading right now, but hang on a sec. I have to have some tea. I love BPRD, always have, and I recommend to anyone out there, well, start right from volume 1 and work your way up through. The artwork is always top notch, but the storytelling, I love the stories. Magnolia, the Magnolia verse is definitely a place to check out. The stories, I mean, when I'm reading these, I'm totally engrossed in them. And I find a lot of times I'll sit down and I'll be reading this, and I'll be reading for 2 or 3 hours, sometimes late into the night before I realize what's happened, and then it's time for bed suddenly. But BPRD, fascinating reading, great book, great storytelling. Mike Magnolia, who could expect anything less? So I will be getting up to this soon. I'll probably talk about this in a future show. I might even do a Magnolia verse type of special. And okay, and my God, that seems to be it. Jesus, pretty quick this week. But overall, I think actually my favorite out of all these, it's a tie between the Savage Sword of Conan and the Harrow County. Savage Sword of Conan mainly for the nostalgia factor and the art factor of the art. Like I say, stunning art if you're really big into art. And into Conan, you gotta collect that. And Harrow County, just because it's what suspense is all about. This, I mean, reading through this, it's a slow terror. It's sort of building over issue by issue, and then finally it comes up and kicks you in the teeth, right? And that, in a good way. So those, and like I said, all the rest too, very good. And I'm curious to see, like I say, in terms of the DC Black Label books, what the future ones are going to look like. But for now, not a bad job. Okay, now I've heard some talk too about DC and Marvel thinking about slowing down on the amount of books and all that, putting them out, thinking that they're creating a glut but I don't think so. I think you're providing like a wonderful choice of reading options to the comic book public. But if you are going to do something, don't put into softcover form every single comic, because there are some that really just don't deserve it. You put them out in floppy form and they flop. No one liked the series and all that. Don't assault the public again with the inferior stories and comics. Just do really nice editions, which most of you do anyway. Just keep doing it, but just do it with the best of your material. And go back into the past too and start getting stuff out of the past, like DC. Why they ever cancelled before Batman 2-book hardcover set is beyond me. It would have been a boon to the comic book researchers, historians, and all that. And I think they have a responsibility actually to print it. I know I'd buy a copy, and I know I'd use it in my comic book lessons and stuff like that. And so it's a thing for good, right? I mean, so someone might be offended by whatever. It's just like, well, these are comics from that period of time, and we got to learn from them. And you're not going to learn anything if you ban stuff. I've never been for banning stuff. I've always believed in, having everything out in the in the public eye. Must be my upbringing. Anyway, the boom tube has been summoned. I'm going to head off, and next week not as many books, but I look forward to seeing you. Hang on a second. Oh. Just had to close the door there. Okay, see you next week. Thanks for having me over.